Hello, and today I have so many books it is absurd and it is piling over there. I have not done a haul since Christmas, so I have over 6 months of books to haul and I'm going to get right into it. They're not going to be like large, expansive definitions or synopsises, but I will tell you the gist. Rage of Dragons. This is by Evan Winter and it is an African-inspired fantasy that has been going around on the Love of Booktube for a very long time, and I was very excited to find it and I have read about half of it and I need to read the rest of it. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Other Jazz Tales, and this is a collection by F. Scott Fitzgerald, author of The Great Gatsby. I've been really enjoying this. I read the Benjamin Button story and I've started the first one, and it is just very well written. He is very lyrical and funny and wonderful. White Sago Sea by Jean Rhys is a book that I have probably talked way too much on my channel about lately, but I have been reading it. It is a retelling of Bertha from Jane Eyre, but it was published in 1966. Gently Planted by Ruth Marie Patterson is a book by a friend of mine that is poetry, and it was really, really good. I really recommend it. It is beautiful poetry about being quiet but also being strong. Oscar Wilde's plays, and this has Lady Windermere's Fan, A Woman of No Importance, An Ideal Husband, The Importance of Being Earnest, and Salome. And I read The Importance of Being Earnest, and I'm excited to read the rest of his plays at some point in the future. The Best Laid Plans. This is by Terry Fallis, and this is a story about a politician who is an exhausted aide, and he goes and deals with stuff. I'm not sure exactly, other than it is by the author of Albatross, who I really love, and I also want to read more Canadian books. My Family and Other Animals is by Gerald Durrell, and he is a person who became a zoologist, or whatever the another name for that is, and he loves plants and he loves animals, and his family is in wealthy poverty in England, so they moved to Greece where they can have a more luxurious life, and this is about his family. It's quite entertaining. I believe it's set in the 30s, and his brother was a famous author as well, and it's just very funny. I read like 3/4 of it, and it's hilarious. I've been meaning to tell you by David Shirani, and this is a collection of nonfiction that is written to his son, and I've been meaning to read it for a while. So this spring I read Northanger Abbey again and then read Persuasion, so I picked up Mansfield Park so that I can read it. It is a hefty boy, and I am about 50-60 pages into it, and I really need to read more because it is delightful. I really love Fanny Pierce and the fact that she is a quieter narrator. The Anthropocene Reviewed is by John Green, and it is a collection of nonfiction essays about his world and the life and like how he connects with the world. It's kind of a memoir. It's just a beautiful story. I really like John Green as a person. I love his podcast that it's based on, and I've written some I've been narrating the heck out of it, and I've also been writing my own reviews in it as I do stuff and have adventures with the book. I have somehow already lost the dust jacket from this because I've been reading it, but it's called What Jane Austen Ate and What Charles Dickens Knew, and it's a 19th century book with etiquette and a bunch of stuff, and it's been really entertaining. The Turn of the Screw by Henry James is a classic novel that I really, really enjoy. I love the ambiguous stuff at the ending and being able to love the story and the criticism around it. So the end of it also has a bunch of criticism, has some essays, and also has him talking about it. So I'm really excited to read the extra knowledge that is in this. The Fault in Our Stars by John Green is a novel that I really loved when it came out, and it deals with OCD and anxiety and is such a great book, and really, really enjoyed reading it. Women Talking by Miriam Toews is based on the real life story of Manitoba Colony in South America, and is based on the fact that a lot of women were assaulted there, and how do you deal with that within a very conservative community. It is very, very well done, and I can't wait to read it because I think that it is a book that becomes even more powerful upon reread. The Essential Writing of Jonathan Swift. I picked this up for very cheap and I'm very excited to have it. I read Gulliver Travels and feel mediocre about it, but I really, really love Modest Proposal, and I'm really excited to read more of his nonfiction that is probably in here. Madame Bovary is by Gustave Flaubert, and I know that it's a classic novel, and I think it's by a scandalous woman. The Secret Daughter I know is a story about a South Asian person living their life. That's pretty much all I know about it, and I picked it up and I'm excited to read it. When the Sea Turns Silver is a novel by Grace Lin that I read 2 years ago, and I'm excited to have it on my shelf. It is a middle grade story about magic and medieval China and all of those wonderful things. I found this in Value Village and I almost shrieked because this is Two Trees Don't Make a Forest. And this is a book that came out in 2020, which is so rare to see it in a very, in a secondhand store for very cheap. And this is about a real life story about nonfiction and ancestry and history, where a woman goes back to Taiwan to trace her family history and to really figure out on herself and her family. Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie is a very classic novel about these people that are born on the night that India becomes independent, and it's about their story, and they have magical gifts, and I know that is a very big classic and I haven't read it yet, so I'm excited to have it and to read it soon. Pet is a novel I already talked about in my Christmas haul, but I read it at the beginning of January and then immediately bought it. A girl named Jam, and she is trans and she is Black, and it is her story of helping someone else deal with monsters that involves sexual abuse, but it's done in such a way that is so digestible and easy for children to understand in a way that isn't traumatizing. I found about 3 of these, which are the Griffin Poetry Prize anthology of whatever years in a little free library, and I had to pick them up because I know that they're not something that a lot of people would want, but having just a variety of poetry that I can read is really exciting. By Kim Tu is a Vietnamese novel and author that is French and lives in Canada, and I read this and I don't really remember a lot of it, so I'm really excited to reread it. The Romance of Arthur. This is an anthology of medieval verse about King Arthur. When You Ask Me Where I'm Going is by Jasmine Carr, and this is a collection of poetry by a South Asian author about her experience. Hateship, Friendship, Courtship, Loveship, and Marriage is by Alice Munro, and this is a collection of short stories. I read Runaway by her and really liked it. English Patient, and this is by Indian-Canadian Michael Onadaatje. That's probably really butchered, but this is about a war. Weather by Jenny Awful. This is a book that I've already started and I really find it delightful. It is about this woman who is of middle age, and she has been working in this library that she once was a grad at, and now her life has become mediocre for some reason, and she has a husband and a son, and she is kind of like a shrink, but she's not paid for it. She just like helps people in their problems. And yeah, so she gets this job offer to work writing like letters response for this podcast that people write about the end of the world or like their fears and stuff like that. So I'm excited to learn more about this novel and to read it. It's very interesting, like it's written in very small vignettes, but I find them still very connective. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn is by Betty Smith, and this is one of my favorite novels of this year. I read it and loved it and immediately bought it because it's a 1949 novel about this family saga where they deal with alcoholism of the father and the grief and the poverty and everything that goes along with it, but the characters are looked at with such compassion, and I absolutely love it and adore it. I have Parasite by Daphne du Maurier, and the same author as Rebecca, and I really want to read all of her novels, so I'm really excited to have this and to read it at some point in the future. And that is my book haul from January to June of 2021. I hope that you enjoyed whichever books you bought, and let me know which was your favorite that you bought this year. And if you liked this video, you can put a book emoji in the comments to let me know that you liked it. And have a great day and happy reading and writing. I'll see you next time.